Well, traveling is exciting, but a lot of people don't know that there are economic
values
attached.
They only
to
think about going to have fun.
That's right. So a lot of people don't even know that Nigeria makes billions of dollars from traveling Nigerians. So I'm going to tell you all about that today, right? So, but before I go on, Rachel, do you like traveling?
Of course, I do. I'm adventurous in nature, so I love traveling.
Yeah, that's great. I love it. It's one of my most fun things to do. Anyways, traveling is very, very important to any economy, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I decided to talk about this today because really, I get a lot of calls. I did a couple of years ago. I did a little bit of travel consultancy. So people who knew I used to do visas would still call me today. Like last week, somebody called me and said, I need to go to China. How much? I said, I don't do visas anymore, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I needed to point out some things, right? Because Nigerians have always wanted to travel, always loved to travel, right? But there's a big mistake. And I remember in the earlier days of this show, we did something similar where we give people advice on, how to choose the best countries to go to.
Yes, yeah.
Right. So you find Nigerians all over the world, right? You find Nigerians in Oman, you find Nigerians in Cyprus, you find Nigerians everywhere. But I'm trying to call some of the worst places that Nigerians live today. Oman, Cyprus, some of the, how do you call it, Arabian countries,
okay.
And Nigerians are going through a tough time in some of those countries. Can you imagine that there are, hundreds, if not thousands of Nigerians in Libya? And Libya is a war-torn country, right?
Mm-hmm.
But can you ask yourself the question, what would make a person leave a country where there isn't a war and move to a country where there is war going on? That means that the country where they're coming from must feel like hell for them.
Yeah.
Right? And so that's really why many Nigerians are running away. They don't see a future in Nigeria, right? Many of these young people roaming different streets of different countries globally are graduates who graduated in 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, 5 years, 10 years after graduating, no job, no hope for the future. They can't help their families. I listened to a young man yesterday talk about how he tries to help his family with his very little salary, and his parents are sick, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I realized that people are really suffering in this country. And this young man is owing debts all over the place because his salary is not enough to take care of his family, right? And he's trying to make it work, and he's failing at that, right?
Yeah.
And so imagine somebody like this can actually decide one day and pack up his bags and just leave the country, hit the streets, right? Mm-hmm. And you ask him where he's going, and he'd say, I'm going to Europe by road, right? Yeah. What does he do? He finds his way to Lagos, Mile 2. From Mile 2, he finds his way to Cotonou to Togo, from Togo to, Ghana, Cote d'Ivoire, Mali, right?
Mm-hmm.
To a place they call Gao. I think there's so many, to either Libya or to find their way through the desert, and get to. So I saw a video of many dead people in the desert, right? And many of those people are Nigerians, but usually people from the West African coast. But a lot of those people are Nigerians, right?
Yeah.
It's a gruesome, chilling YouTube video. You see people dead like bonga fish because the desert is so hot, they don't rotten. Right? Some of those bodies have been there for 5 years, 10 years, but they are dried up with their skins, turned to hide and stuck to their bodies. Right? You can see they're not rotten. These are human beings dried up like, stockfish. Right? And some of these people, their parents are still hoping, they made it to Europe. Mm-hmm. Probably they're going through a hard time. Mm-hmm. And one day things are going to, set up for them, and then they're going to call us and start sending us money and all of that. They don't even know that these young men and young women did not make it to their destination. They are long dead and gone. Right? Now, the question is, why would people do that? It's because we live in a country where our leaders are the most heartless politicians you will find anywhere in the world. Nigeria is blessed with all the natural resources that you could name of. I gave you a list a few days ago, so it won't be me telling you all the time. That rundown proved that Nigeria is the second wealthiest country in the world in terms of natural resources, and number one is Congo DRC. And so tell me how Nigeria would have such enormous wealth, and Nigerians will continue to run out and run to different countries where they either die on the way or they make it there, they end up suffering for decades, trying to eke out a living, right? But anyways, in my travel, I found many Nigerians on the streets of Germany, and the streets of Spain, the streets of Portugal, the streets of Dubai. Just name it, everywhere I go, I see Nigerians roaming the streets, right? No jobs, no qualification, no skills. They just needed to run out of Nigeria, and they ran out of Nigeria, and you see them roaming the streets. And these are the kinds of Nigerians that if you make a mistake and leave your bag of money or leave your bag of any valuables, you just, start looking for it. It will go missing, right? And that's because really they're trying to find a way to survive. But I want to leave a number of advice for Nigerians running now, right? It is good to travel. There are benefits to travel. But before I start with my advice, I want to give you a number of statistics, right?
Okay.
Traveling is beneficial to Nigeria's economy, and I'm going to tell you why. Remittances to Nigeria from Nigerians in diaspora have been a significant source of foreign exchange for the country. In 2022, the World Bank reported that remittances to Nigeria reached approximately 20.9 billion US dollars. That is, that money, that Western Union MoneyGram that your uncle, your auntie, your brother overseas sends to you. There are thousands of other Nigerians scattered all over the world sending the same money to their families. And so it's a major source of income for the Nigerian economy. 20.9 billion US dollars coming home annually from Nigerians in diaspora. That's a lot of investment in Nigeria to come into Nigeria, right? This figure has been a crucial contributor to the country's GDP. Can you imagine that export gives Nigeria about $46 billion, right? So this remittances gives Nigeria about 50% of how much Nigeria makes from export, right? And it's good for the Nigerian economy. So that is to say that traveling Nigerians are valuable to the Nigerian economy, right? So remittances generally come from Nigerians living in the US, UK, Canada, and other parts of Europe and Africa. They are used for household expenses, education, healthcare, and investment back home, playing a critical role in alleviating poverty and supporting economic growth in Nigeria. I've always said that the Nigerian economy is so bad right now, but trust me, one of the only sustenance that Nigerians have right now is remittances from overseas. There are families who would not have survived if they didn't have families, overseas sending them money. So kudos to Nigerians living in diaspora sending money back home. So that is to say that a traveling Nigeria is valuable to the Nigerian economy, but you have to do it right. Don't just get up and move because, okay, there's an opportunity to go to Cyprus. Don't go to Cyprus. Cyprus is a terrible place to go, right? Don't go to Oman. Don't go to most of these Arabian countries. They don't like black people and they don't treat black people well. There is high-level discrimination in these countries. We've seen videos all over the internet of Kenyan house helps, right? And Nigerian house helps suffering, at the hands of the Arabian hosts, right? You get there, they treat you badly, they beat you up. A lot of times they don't even pay your salaries and they kick you out of the street after working for so many months, right? First of all, they will even seize your passport and makes it impossible for you to live at will, right? You only get to live with some of them when they decide they are done with you. That could be with or without your salary, right? So don't just get up and move because there's an opportunity to move and then you just run into the streets, or you buy a flight ticket because you can afford it and go to a country that you haven't studied, you haven't researched, you don't know what the economy is like, you don't know what the language is like, right? So my number one advice is don't go to a country that don't speak English. Nigeria's lingua franca is English. That means that our official language is English, right? Of course, we have a lot of native dialects, but you're not going to be speaking these native dialects anywhere outside Nigeria. Those native dialects are useful in Nigeria, but not outside Nigeria. So if you have to go to a country and your goal is to school or work, you have to find an English-speaking country whose economy is good. Now, you have to look at income per capita. Well, first of all, look at GDP, look at income per capita, look at language. What language do they speak in this country that I want to go and live in, right? It's absolutely very important because you're hoping to get a job. Now, but the problem is that many Nigerians will run to Portugal, run to Germany, run to France because there's an opportunity. Maybe there's a conference and somebody puts your name down and then you run to this country, but you can't speak the language. I told you guys how when I traveled 25 years ago, I first got to a Portuguese country. I couldn't get a job even with all the skills I have, right? Because I didn't speak the language, right? I had to go to school to learn the language, right? So many Nigerians are not even prepared to go to school. So they keep struggling and they can't get jobs and they end up, wasting valuable time in this country is not being able to make a good living, right? So my number one advice is, before you leave this country, research the country that you want to go to.
Okay.
If you go to internet today, you see a lot of people saying, "Go, come to South Korea, there's work in South Korea. Come to Japan, there's work in Japan. We can help you get the visas." Even if it's true that they can help you get the visas, what kind of work are you taking to that country? Ask yourself, what skills do I have? Right? Yeah. And so even if I have good skills, am I going to be able to communicate in the workplace? And so if your answer is no to that question, don't go there. Right? Find an English speaking country where if you land today, you can start speaking English today, you can start communicating with people. It's absolutely very, very important, right? But we encourage you to travel. It's just that we're asking you to do it correctly, right? There are so many countries that you can go to, and I'm going to give you a list of them. And there are many different ways to get to these countries. We are encouraging you to travel because of how the Nigerian economy is. Perhaps by traveling, you can actually support your family and send them money. And of course, that will contribute to Nigeria's GDP. There are no jobs here anymore for a lot of graduates, right? So do what China is doing. China is encouraging its people to not just travel overseas, but to export Chinese businesses. That's what I love about the Chinese system. They are traveling all over the world. Go to the Caribbean. Chinese are taking over businesses, commerce, trade, all over the Caribbean, right? And I can tell you now that a country like Jamaica is going to be, if China is ever going to have a colony outside, somewhere in the world, Jamaica is probably going to be one of those ones, and many other Caribbean countries, because the Chinese investments are littered in the Caribbean, right? All the major hotels in Jamaica are owned by the Chinese. All the major industries, factories are in Jamaica are owned by the Chinese. Go around to Suriname, go to Barbados, go to St. Vincent and Kitts, St. Kitts and Nevis, go to St. Vincent. It's all Chinese businesses littered all over the place. And that's because the Chinese government, realizing that they have 1.4 billion people and there is not enough space in China, to house the old population and the growing population as a result of new births, right? Are encouraging their people and actually giving them funding to go set up businesses overseas. So this is what we want Nigerians to do. If you're going overseas, make sure you're going overseas to go to school. That is to say that when you are done with school, you'll be able to get a job, earn money and send money back home, or even set up a business overseas, right? Okay. Now, if you're not going to school, make sure you're going to trade, right? And of course, those could be short-term, trips where you're going to buy stuff and return back to Nigeria, or you're exporting stuff and going to actually distribute them in different countries. That's one of the beneficial ways to travel. Or make sure you're exporting a Nigerian business, just like people like Dangote did, exporting many of his businesses to East Africa and different other countries where they are able to earn Forex and return the money back home. Or our own Arthur Eze, who actually exported his service to Venezuela, and he's gotten an oil exploration license in Venezuela, and he's going to earn loads and loads of foreign currencies that he's going to repatriate to Nigeria and help grow the Nigerian economy. So we want you to travel, but we want you to do it correctly. I know some of you will say, this our Nigerian passport is like it's cursed, right? It just can't get visas, it can't go anywhere. I want to shock you. There are so many countries that you can travel to, with the Nigerian passport, visa-free. Some of them are in Africa. Some of them are in the Americas. You won't believe that, but I want to run down through the list and shock you a little bit. So, as of 2024, Nigerian passport holders can travel visa-free or with visa on arrival or an electronic travel authorization, what we call ETA, to the following countries. Number one is Barbados. All right? Barbados is a country in the Caribbean and on the American continent, right? And so Nigerian passport allows you to travel there visa-free. They are mostly black people who were taken from West Africa, and of course, a big chunk of them were taken during slavery from Africa. So they recognize that they have family across the Atlantic, and so this is why they allow Nigeria and a lot of West Africans to come to their country visa-free. And you're allowed to stay in this country for 6 months with the Nigerian passport. And so it could be a good, first experience, traveling for you. Right? You speak English, and so it won't be a bad destination. But make sure you have what we call a basic travel allowance if you're traveling. That's a problem that Nigerians have. Let me just get the visa, or let me just get a means to travel, and then you run out without having money. Make sure that if you're leaving this country, you have money to keep you for at least 6 months. And then if you're wise or if you're skilled, you might stand a chance of getting a job within the first 6 months, and then you can begin to sustain yourself. Now, the second one is in West Africa, Benin Republic, and you're allowed to stay in that country for 90 days. The third is Burkina Faso, unlimited. You can stay in Burkina Faso for as long as you want. Number 5 is Chad. and you can stay there not for 90 days. The next is Cote d'Ivoire, unlimited, how long you can stay there. Dominica is another country in the Caribbean, on the American continent, and you're allowed to stay there for 6 months with a Nigerian passport. Fiji is it on the Indian Ocean or the Pacific? You know, it's not very far from Australia. It's you're allowed to travel there for 4 months with a Nigerian passport. Then you have Gambia for 90 days, Ghana unlimited, Guinea. You have a number of Guineas: Guinea-Conakry, Guinea-Bissau, and of course Equatorial Guinea. But this one is Guinea-Conakry. I believe it's in West Africa, and it's unlimited how long you can stay there. And then the next one is Guinea-Bissau. You can stay there for 90 days. Then you have Haiti, which is another country of black people on the American Atlantic. You know, it's you can stay there for 90 days. Then you have Liberia, unlimited, how long you can stay. 15 is Mali, unlimited. 16 is Micronesia. Micronesia is, I believe, is on the Pacific Ocean. I believe 30 days you can stay there. Then you have Niger, unlimited, how long you can stay. Senegal is another beautiful West African country. You can stay there for 90 days as a Nigerian passport holder. And then you have Sierra Leone, unlimited, how long you can stay. Togo is our neighbor here, unlimited, how long you can stay. Then you have Vanuatu, is 30 days. Vanuatu is a very powerful passport that allows you to travel to at least 150 countries globally, visa-free, right? So if you can travel to Vanuatu and get that passport, it's a big, big plus. But it actually belongs to a collection of countries that we know that called the CIB countries, the Citizenship by Investment, programs, right? And a lot of people are getting Vanuatu passports within 90 days if you can afford to pay for it, right? So countries that you can get visa on arrival for, or the e-visa. Some countries offer Nigeria visas on arrival or e-visas, allowing relatively easy access without needing a visa before travel. Example includes Cambodia, 30 days, Ethiopia, 90 days, Kenya, 90 days, Maldives, a beautiful holiday island, a beautiful holiday destination, allows you to go for 30 days. Mauritius is 90 days, Mozambique is 30 days, Seychelles, the country with the highest income per capita in Africa, that's Seychelles, allows you to go for 90 days. Somalia is 30 days, Tanzania is 90 days, Uganda 90 days, Zambia 90 days. Remember, some of these countries may be visa-free or visa on arrival, but they are not all good for you, right? So make sure they don't have a war going on in any of these countries. Because it's visa-free travel or it offers ETA to you does not mean you must go there. Just choose the ones that are best for you. Remember, if you want to go to America or Europe, one of the first requirements is that you would have already traveled to other countries and returned, right? So this will be a good way to disvirgin your passport. Go to any of those locations on the list that are safe and are economically viable. Go there for 3 months, play around, research, do some work, and then return back to Nigeria in preparation for the country that you want to go to. So these countries that I just listed allow you to come, either on visa-free travel or visa on arrival, right? But the real thing I want to talk about today is other ways that Nigerians who can afford to travel, either travel or live globally without needing any who have gotten this for themselves and their families. And that means that for them to travel for business, they don't need, to visit any embassy, which is a daunting task for many Nigerians. So here's a list of countries offering citizenship by investment programs with an outline of their requirements, the power of their passport, and the number of visa-free countries they allow, right? These ones don't require that you go to these countries, right? Okay. There are agents actually that can process these documents for you. If after the show you're interested in any of these, just reach out to me and I'll hook you up, right? So number one on the list is St. Kitts and Nevis. This is an investment opportunity. Minimum donation of $125,000 to a sustainable growth fund for a single applicant, right? So if you're a businessman and you're looking for a passport that allows you, travel globally and do business without ever needing to go, apply for a visa with any embassy, this is for you, right? So you have to have at least, for a single person, if it's just for you, it's $125,000 that you, contribute to a sustainable growth fund. And then they give you a passport within 90 days, right? There are other areas where you can invest in real estate investment, at least $200,000. The $125,000 is a contribution to the country. You're giving them the money, no returns, no refunds. You just get a passport within 90 days. But the better way to do it is actually invest a higher amount where they give you return on investment, right? You still get the passport, but after a couple of years of your money working there, you can get actually a refund, right? So you can invest in real estate with about 200,000. Processing time is around 90 days. Accelerated process is also available. If you actually want it to be less than 90 days, you pay a little more money, and then you get your passport really fast, right? Visa free, it gives you visa free access. We're talking about St. Kitts and Nevis. You get visa free access to 157 countries. Imagine that, including the EU. EU means all of the European Union countries, plus UK, Russia, Singapore, and Hong Kong. That's amazing, right? So if you're a businessman and you can, foot the bills, reach out and let's hook you up. Number 2 is Dominica. The investment option, minimum donation of 100,000 to an economic diversification fund. You can invest $200,000 in real estate investment, Processing time is 2 to 3 months. That's 90 days again. Passport power, visa-free access to 144 countries. That's amazing, including the EU, UK, Singapore, and Hong Kong again. And the other one is Grenada. Most of these countries are what we call the CARICOM countries. Most of them are on the Caribbean, part of the world, right? Yeah. So Grenada investment opportunity, minimum donation of $150,000 to the National Transformation Fund, or you invest in real estate, to the tune of $220,000. Processing time is approximately 90 days. Passport power, visa-free access to 146 countries. This is amazing. Includes the EU, UK, China, Russia, and Hong Kong. Grenada is the only CBI country with access to China and eligibility for the US E2 visa. You see what this means? This Grenada passport is powerful. It's the only one only one on the list of countries that offer the CBI that allows you visa-free to China. China doesn't allow most countries to come, no matter how powerful the passport is, to come visa-free, but Grenada is allowed. So that means they have a special accord with China. And then this allows you also eligibility to US E2 visa, right? Okay. So it's amazing to get this one. It's really very valuable. Then the other one, the fourth one, is Antigua and Barbuda. Minimum donation of 100,000 to the National Development Fund, or you invest 200,000, in real estate. Duration is 3 to 4 months. It allows you access to 151 countries, including EU, UK, Singapore, Hong Kong, and Russia. Right? Then you have St. Lucia. St. Lucia, the investment opportunity here is a minimum donation of $100,000 to the National Economic Fund, real estate investment of 200,000, 3 to 4 months duration, 147 countries access, including EU, UK, Singapore, and Hong Kong. I talked about Vanuatu earlier. So Vanuatu right here, requires you to pay in $130,000 to a development support program. It takes 1 to 2 months. This is one of the quickest ones to come out, right? It gives you access to 98 countries, including EU, UK, Singapore, and Hong Kong. Then you have Malta. This is a residency to citizenship program. Means that what you get at payment is residency, but after a couple of years, you actually can get citizenship. So the donation is 600,000 euros, right? I don't recommend that anybody actually go for this one, so I'll shut it down right there. It's not really beneficial to my people. So you have Turkey. Turkey is a real estate investment of 400,000, 3 to 6 months processing time, visa-free access to 110 countries, including Japan. Because of Japan, this is good. South Korea is good. Hong Kong, Singapore, and many South American countries. However, no access to EU or US visa-free. So because of this, I may not recommend this, but it's up to you really what you want to do. Then you have number 9, Montenegro. Investment opportunities, 450,000 total, includes 250,000 donation and 200,000 real estate investment. Processing time is 6 months, visa-free to 124 countries, including EU, UK, Russia, and Hong Kong, right? Then you have North Macedonia. Investment options is real estate investment of 200,000, 3 to 6 months processing time, 125 countries, including EU, Hong Kong, Singapore, and Turkey. Now, listen, it may sound like this is a huge investment, right? Mm-hmm. But trust me, if you know what you're doing and you have a passport like this, it gives you limitless travel around the globe where you can go and do all kinds of businesses. And the beautiful thing is that it's transferable to the next generation. So once you get the citizenship and you get married, your wife and your children get to acquire the citizenship by way of, birth, right? So it's really valuable to hardcore business people, right? Unless your father is a billionaire and then you have that kind of money sitting in your account and you're looking to, to spend it on something. You can put it into this, right? But either ways, this is easy travel for millionaires and billionaires that are Nigerian, right? I happen to own a passport that is equally as powerful, that allows me to travel, globally. But I didn't get it through this route, right? I got mine through residency and naturalization, living in a country for a couple of years. So that's another option that you can explore. You can travel to a country legally, right? Live there. For example, most European Union countries allow you to come to school, right? Okay. And if you come with a student's visa, what happens is that after you have renewed your residency 6 times, which means 6 years, you're qualified to actually apply for citizenship, right? So it's a beautiful thing. America is the same way too. So it's easy for you to go as a student and convert, your status to, how'd you call it, citizenship after a couple of years. So, however, whatever rocks your boat, that's what you need to do. But I want to let you know that traveling is beneficial to you and to the Nigerian economy. We encourage you to travel, either to go school and come back, or to go school and eventually live there. But whatever you do, getting a second passport is beneficial to your personal economy and to Nigeria's economy, because at the end of the day, if you're doing well, you'll be able to send money back home and support family back home, and of course, grow the Nigerian economy through growing our GDP. So we encourage you to, find a country to go to today and do it responsibly and properly. And that will be that for that subject today.
Okay.